this crew has been together since JAG. So some of these guys go back together more than 21
30 years.
30 years. So not only have they spent 10 months out of the year for the past 30 years together, 14 to 16 hours a day, but during their hiatus, they still go on vacations together. And I think that's a huge testament of how wonderful this cast and crew is.
So I wanted to start off by asking what you guys can preview about tonight's new episode.
No, we're told we can't say anything. I'm sorry.
You have to guess.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty tough secret. We're not here to talk about anything.
Yeah.
Oh
no, of course. So tonight's episode is basically we start with a pretty standard, what seems like a pretty standard NCIS fare of investigating a crime, but very, very soon we realize that this investigation is also going to include Jessica Knight's father.
And then we also find out that Jessica Knight may have forgotten to tell her father about her relationship with Jimmy Palmer.
Which feels great as a boyfriend to know that like your girlfriend doesn't talk to her family, let alone just her father, about the fact that she even has a boyfriend. I think it's a really good sign for a relationship.
It's a lot of fun tonight. It's
really good stuff.
Yeah, Jessica doesn't sweat at all tonight. It's good.
Yeah, sweating. You want to talk about sweating? Jimmy's sweating bullets.
Oh yeah,
man.
he does. Yeah. It gets awkward.
It's but we would expect nothing less from NCIS.
One of my favorite aspects, and for the fans as well, is their relationship. How's it been being able to explore them these last couple of seasons and seeing their relationship grow?
I've really enjoyed it. I mean, to pay you a compliment right to your face, I love doing scenes with Katrina. It's fantastic.
I paid him to say that.
It's true. It's true. And since she got on the show a couple of years ago, we've had some really good scenes together. And so they said, well, let's put these characters together. And before you knew it, she was pulling a bullet out of my butt, and
falling in love.
And that's when we knew, you know, as I was looking back and seeing her stitch me up, and she was smiling at me, I was like, yeah, this thing's gonna work. But really, I like the fact that it's two, you know, mature adults talking about real life stuff. You know, Jimmy's been gone through a lot of things. Jess has gone through a lot of things, and they're there for each other. So when some of these bumps happen along the road, as happens with every relationship, it's interesting to see.
And Brian, for you, how important do you think this relationship has been for Jimmy and Victoria while they're both still healing from Bria?
I think it's pretty huge. You know, I mean, in the turmoil, the hurricane of losing someone that's that close to you within your life, you're looking for things that can help to save you and to help lift you up. And I think that Jessica has done that for Jimmy in a huge way, and by proxy has done it for his daughter. So it's been a very healthy thing to for him and his family.
Kind of going back to the premise of the episode, how will Knight's father affect Jimmy and Knight's dynamic, since Knight hasn't said anything about the relationship?
Go ahead, tell her what's happening.
Well, first of all, my father is being played by Russell Wong, who's an amazing actor. He's so good. We have a great fight scene coming up tonight that I'm very excited about. But in general, Knight has a great relationship with her father. She talks to him, if not on a daily basis, maybe every other day. So the fact that she hasn't told him about Jimmy is a pretty big deal. And that all comes down to the plan. And the plan is something that Knight and her father came up together about, the trajectory of Jessica's career. So when Knight's father unexpectedly shows up in DC, he takes that opportunity to check in with her about the plan of how it's going, if she's still going to go forward with it, and who is this guy that you're not telling me about, but I can obviously tell the two of you have a relationship, and things just get really awkward. So it's a little bit of a moment for Knight to reassess and kind of figure out where she stands with her father and the plan and with Jimmy. So you'll have to tune in to see where that all leads.
It's a bit of a crossroads.
And with her father's involvement, will we be getting any more of her backstory?
Yes. Do you get backstory, or do we just get awkwardness from us?
No, we definitely get some backstory because as Katrina was saying, there's a plan happening here, and the big question is it Jessica's plan or is it her father's plan? You know, how much of this is really being dictated by what he wants for his daughter as she moves in their steps through her career and her life, and how much of it is what she really wants for herself? So yeah, we definitely get to see kind of like how this character was formed a little bit in this episode.
Yeah,
it's really fun
the father-daughter interaction, I think, is pretty great, and
Yeah.
I'm excited for people to see it.
Kind of going off of that, how is her relationship with her father? How would you describe it?
It's Knight thinks the world of her father. He is her hero. She looks up to him. She cherishes and values his advice. He has been the rock in her life throughout all of her hardships. And she definitely wants to make him happy. But I think at this point, she's getting to the point, and as every child does, of, is it more important to make myself happy or to make my father happy? So now she's at a crossroads where she has to make that decision of, do I stand up to my father in a very respectful, grown-up adult way, or do I continue down this path of being in his shadow a little bit? So we get to see that tonight.
And kind of shifting away from the episode, NCIS will be airing its 1000th episode in the franchise very soon. What does it mean to be part of a legacy that has been growing for 20 years and is continuing to expand?
I think it's, it's every actor's dream, I think, to get on something and have it actually succeed and be, last more than a season. Like we're the actors kind of go from job to job. So the prospect of working on something for a year or maybe even 2 years is incredible. So when we look at it and say 21 years, and between not just our show, but Los Angeles, New Orleans, Hawaii, Sydney, we've produced 1000 episodes over the last 21 years. It's incredible. It's really, really rare air. I think that we're one of only 2 different shows to actually do that. So I don't think it's lost on any of us how blessed we are to be doing this and to be a part of it. So yeah, we're just trying to show up and tell really good stories each week, because the more times we get to do this, then we get to keep creating this, and 1000 episodes. That means we're halfway there, because the goal is 2000, right?
Mm-hmm. That's the goal.
Yeah.
I feel really blessed coming into this show a lot later than Brian. But one of my favorite things about the show is the amount of love that you can feel on screen and off screen. Also the amount of love that you get from the fans. It's just a very beautiful symbiotic relationship. And coming to set every day is a joy. One of my favorite stories to tell is that this crew has been together since JAG. So some of these guys go back together more than 21 years. 30 years. So not only have they spent 10 months out of the year for the past 30 years together, 14 to 16 hours a day, but during their hiatus, they still go on vacations together. And I think that's a huge testament of how wonderful this cast and crew is.
Is there anything that you guys can tease about the upcoming Milestone episode?
Well, that unicorn.
Oh yeah, there's a unicorn. There's a couple, but we ride them bareback.
It's a tragic event with the dinosaur that comes in.
There's a lot.
It's really ugly.
It gets
a messy crime scene.
It's intense, but also heartfelt.
Yeah,
truthfully, what we can say is there is going to be.
What are you talking about?
there's going to be some good Easter eggs for people that have been fans of not only our show but also our sister shows. Potentially a few appearances from people we haven't seen in some time, not even from our series, but from others. And what's really great is it's told through the eyes of someone who has watched NCIS his whole life, and that is Vance's son, Jared. And from the outsider's perspective, he asked the real question: what makes NCIS so special to my father? And this 1000th episode is a celebration of that.
And for my final question, Brian, you had the honor of co-writing the tribute episode for the late and great David McCallum, who was affectionately known as Ducky. What was it like writing that episode and making sure that it was a tribute that David and Ducky deserved? Well,
it was very cathartic in a way, and all of us here at NCIS, not just our actors and not just our writers, but also our crew. We have come to become a family, as Katrina was saying, and David was a huge founding member of that family. We've known him for 20 years, worked alongside him, and of course he's had a storied career for the last 60 years in film and television. So when they asked me to co-write this episode with Scott Williams, I was beyond honored, and wanted to make sure that we got to show a lot of our best moments with David over the years, and bring a special someone back to have a great scene with Jimmy Palmer and talk about David, and really allow the fans and allow all of us to come together, mourn, to cry a little bit, to laugh a little bit, and tell some stories. And I'm glad that it turned out the way that it did.